exposed the NNPC and fuel importation scam, the cost to Nigeria. Between September and October, the volume of petrol imported into Nigeria almost doubled. This happened when the Dangote refinery reported having enough refined petrol and NNPC tankers were lining up at the refinery to load petrol. The facts: petroleum importation didn't start in October 2024. It has an ancient history, stretching back to the first crude cargo shipped from Nigeria to Britain in February 1958. But no one had envisaged it turn into such a monstrous scam as it has become. The waste on imported petrol is mind-blowing and senseless, and the cost is humongous. The loss it causes is gross. Rather than gain, Nigeria loses and incurs debt importing fuel. Nothing about importing refined petrol positively impacts the Nigerian economy. Here is a quick stats. In 2023, Nigeria spent 7.5 trillion naira on imported petrol. Although this was a 2.6% drop from the 7.7 trillion naira in 2022, the price was still crazy high. But in 2024, the increase was at an all-time high. In the first quarter of 2024 alone, Nigeria spent 2.6 trillion naira to import petrol. This is 46% increase from the amount spent in the last quarter of 2023. But that's far less to what Nigeria coughed out in the second quarter of 2024 when the amount hit 3.22 trillion naira. Because under Tinubu's watch, the petrol import price has steadily increased and at an astronomical rate. The data for the last quarter of 2024 is yet to be out, and Nigeria has already spent 5.9 trillion naira on imported petrol. And all these signs suggest that another increase is coming in by the end of fourth quarter. The big question is, why is Nigeria bent on importing petrol? Why spend such an outrageous amount to import petrol, which has been found to be very substandard grade when we can produce far much better quality locally? Nigeria has 4 government-owned refineries: the old Port Harcourt Refinery, Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company, Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company, and New Port Harcourt Refinery. All 4 refineries have a combined capacity to refine up to 445,000 barrels per day. Dangote Refinery, privately owned, has a capacity of 650,000 barrels per day. A combined production capacity of Dangote Refinery and other 4 local refineries will see Nigeria have a production capacity of 1,095,000 barrels per day. Meanwhile, Nigerians consume an equivalence of 750,000 barrels of crude per day. A single barrel of crude oil can be refined into at least 159 liters of petrol. If we combine the output from the 4 government-owned refineries at 445,000 barrels per day and the Dangote Refinery's 650,000 barrels per day, the total is 1,095,000 barrels per day. By multiplying this total, 1,095,000 barrels, by 159 liters per barrel, the national daily petrol output would be approximately 174 million liters. Nigeria's daily consumption of petrol is 50 million liters, although this is a magical rise to what it was after Tinubu removed the subsidy in 2023. Flashback to 29 May 2023, when Tinubu decreed from his inauguration podium that oil subsidy is gone. The daily consumption of petrol miraculously dropped to 49.48 million liters from the 69.54 million that it was in May that year. Even at the current volume of 50 million liters per day, Dangote Refinery and the 4 other refineries share a combined capacity to more than meet the target. Unfortunately, the government scam around importation of petrol has crippled Nigeria's local refineries and locked it down forever. The excuse the NNPC gives for the non-performance of the refineries is that they have been underutilized in recent decades due to a lack of maintenance and inefficient processes. Underutilized? Really? And why are they not maintained? When Obasanjo's regime created the NNPC in 1977, it assembled a team of professionals with good experience from the oil sector. The regime commissioned them to take charge of not just the upstream, midstream, and downstream sectors, but to also build new refineries and maintain existing ones. But from the 90s, when Abacha ordered NNPC to close its accounts in commercial banks and transfer them to central bank, the NNPC lost its independence to greedy politicians. It would later become a money-making tool for the ruling government and their surrogates. Loyalists were appointed to head the company, and so they became bold, reckless, and corrupt. The cartel in the oil sector, with backings from the ruling government, forced the NNPC to abandon the refineries and focus on importation. By importation, they make money on import costs, make money on subsidy, make more money by smuggling imported petrol, and still make money through local sales. But their greed isn't emptied there. They influence the government to allocate free monies to maintain the local refineries. The monies head straight into their personal deep pockets and sink into oblivion. For instance, in March 2021, Buhari's government awarded the repair of the old and new Port Harcourt refineries and the Warri refinery at the cost of $1.5 billion to Tecnimont SPA, an Italian company. At the same time, the Kaduna refinery was awarded for maintenance at $586 million. The maintenance period would last for 44 months. We are in the 36th month. None of the refineries is operational, let alone their full capacity. Aside from the big 4 refineries and Dangote refinery, there are 5 other refineries with smaller refining capacities. They include Niger Delta Petroleum Refinery, Aradel, OPAC Refinery, Delta State, Walter Smith Refinery, DuPont Midstream, and Edo Refinery and Petrochemical Company. They have a combined capacity of about 45,000 barrels per streaming day. With these refineries in existence, does Nigeria have any business importing petrol? Certainly no. Why then do we still import petrol? Because a criminal few trapped the nation's oil sector in their ferocious claws and are sucking dry its sweet money.